of owning a cafe and other heroic deeds by Beware the Tistero. Chapter 108, Saturday, Part 12. Dobby didn't want to uncurl the protective shell he'd made around his brother, however. Their mother was waiting, and he needed to speak with Matsuo. He needed to apologize to him for so many things, and sure, they couldn't cover everything right now, but they needed to start the healing process for all of them, didn't they? Shouta? He murmured into the 9-year-old's hair, his arms still wrapped around him as they sat upon the immaculate flooring. Would you like to say hi to Mom? He asked him quietly. It's completely fine if you don't. She was sent away because of me. Blinking, those quiet words rattling him, he found himself hugging the child closer still. That's not true, he told him firmly. What happened was a terrible, awful incident. She wasn't in her right mind, and that's no one's fault other than his, he furthered. And nothing is your fault, Shouta. He singled you out. He harmed all of us because of that, he added. You can no more help how you were born or how amazing you are than you can help needing to breathe, eat, and sleep. He turned to grin, his tone a touch strained as he tried to relax his stressed-out body whilst the boy sniffled. I can't believe that this is real. That she's here, that you're here, too. He heard the other manage out, his eyes slipping closed once more as they continued to sit on the tatami mats. Sometimes I can't quite believe it either, he admitted quietly. We tried to get to all of you sooner, but you'd already taken you to China by the time I told my other family who I was. Who I used to be. He sighed, his tone laced with guilt. Used to be? Chuckling, he pulled away slightly so he could look down at the boy he'd swaddled in his lap, a rueful smile tugging his lips. Yeah, he breathed. You've met Aizawa-sensei, right? Blinking a little, the other nodded, his cheeks pinking a little. Izuku, he called him Cat Dad because he was a father to the cats at his cafe and most of his students, too. Snickering a little, the older nodded. As always, Darka finds a way to simplify things just right, he murmured as they regarded each other. I was homeless for a good 4 months after running away, and he took me in, no questions asked. He confided, the other blinking once more. He never raised his hand to me or his voice. He showed me what a true hero looks like, even though he's not a pro himself, and together, we started to gather more and more people to the cafe we share. He helped me to heal. He helped me to overcome so many of the demons that have been plaguing me, and gave me his family name. I'm legally Aizawa Dobby now, he said. And then he and our other friends gave me the greatest gift of all, a chance to save you. A chance I could never have had as I was back then. A chance I couldn't have had without him and the community we've built. He added, a community that very much wants to count you in its number if you'll have us, you know? Then, watching as the other finally started to relax a little, he moved to carefully wipe an errant tear from the boy's face. They both had physical scars now. Scars that would always be a reminder of the darker days. It all sounds a little too good to be true, the other murmured, a tentative hand resting on his. But I want to believe it. I want to be a part of something like that, he admitted before he sucked in a deep, shuddering breath. Do you think, would Mom want to see me? Somehow holding back another volley of tears, Dobby cocked his head to review the sofa. His first family were watching them, all of them waiting. I don't think anything would make her happier, he grinned. So what'd you say? Shall we go over there? Watching as the other nodded, the oldest of their 4 siblings gave him another fond squeeze before moving to get up with the boy, still in his embrace. He couldn't be more elated if he tried. As her oldest son pulled himself flawlessly to a stand with his precious cargo carefully stowed in his arms, Ray resigned herself to Dobby walking the boy outside for some air or over to the cafe pets who were quietly chatting with their 2 childhood friends, Nezu-san, Toshi-kun, and Officer Sansa. She couldn't blame Shoto. What she'd done was unforgivable, and even as she cuddled Matsuo and Fuyumi close, she found herself angrily chastising this wounded voice longing to hold her youngest child. When would she be satisfied? How could she be so greedy? How selfish was she to wish for such a thing when she had 3 of her babies now? When she was free of the mental health ward Angie had left her to rot in? When she finally had the autonomy and the capacity to make her own choices? The capacity to live, truly live as her own person. A person who'd found a mother in Mimi-chan, a brother in Shouta, and a plethora of children. So, shouldn't that be enough? How could she think even for a second that she should impose her will upon Shoto? Shoto, who had had his every move controlled by his father from the second that man had realized the prodigy he'd been searching for had finally been born. Mom? Blinking, she almost couldn't believe it when Dabi approached. Her youngest was still with him, their acid legs. Oh! She managed, her arms giving Fuyumi and Natsuo one last squeeze as she said, Mom? Before throwing herself to the ground in the most profoundly humble bow that anyone of their culture could portray, her head pressed into the ground as several people around her gasped, Shoto, I am so sorry. She tried, her forehead shoved into the matting, her form trembling. God, she should have done this for all of her children. She would, but for her youngest son, for the boy whom had not only been hurt and scarred by his father, but her as well. How could she possibly atone for that? What could she do? What could she say? Sorry would never be enough. Mom. Screwing her eyes shut, she could feel her youngest boy stood next to her shoulders. A little hand was resting upon her crown. I'm sorry too, you know. Chi-Chui, he hurt you too, a whole lot more than me. Daring to lift her head, Ray met her smallest child's eyes whilst copious tears fell from her own. How could her children be so forgiving? She didn't deserve their forgiveness. Shoto, she breathed quietly while slowly kneeling up, her heart fluttering faster than the tremble across her shoulders as she regarded him. Her 2 other young children sat quietly behind her whilst Dabi stood as a comforting presence by their youngest family member. No, honey, no. You should never have been in that situation. None of you should have, and that's on me. She managed, her head shaking. None of you have anything to apologize for. You're our children. You should have known nothing but love and affection. She rasped. I failed all of you, so please, never put my failings on your shoulders. The 9-year-old has stepped into her personal space. She'd expected a slap, she'd expected yelling, she'd expected anger. Shoto! The boy crying and throwing his arms around her neck. The sight of his little tear-streaked face pressed against her own. Couldn't have felt better if she'd dreamed it. Oh, baby. I love you all so much. She whimpered, her arms beckoning the others. Oh, Kazan! Hoping they'd come. Mom! And her continued joy. Mom! They did. As his students continued to compete, Shoto was sure his heart too, was going to explode with pride as every single one of them performed humbly and with a grace that you just couldn't teach. God! They were marvelous. However, slowly but surely their numbers across the boards dwindled, but with each lost fight, the cafe tot would approach him for their hair ruffle and praise before virtually skipping towards the tea house with Mashiro and Mezzo in tow. All of them far more interested in meeting with, helping, and befriending the Todoroki children they'd helped to rescue this day. Damn! Regardless of any government-approved licenses they could possibly get when they were older, every one of those amazing kids was a hero in his eyes, and as the junior division of the Tenkaichi Bubudokai drew to a close with Bakugokatsuki winning the 7-9 bracket, and Mirio coming 3rd in 10-14 division. The taller, broader blonde had fleshed up his hand with one hand and cradled the trophy he'd won against his face for a kiss with the other. Wham! He wondered sarcastically who could have inspired him into such behavior. Not that he could blame the clearly delighted young man, and after waving them both off, he rolled his shoulders and sucked in a deep breath. In the next 10 minutes, all of his kids would be loaded into cars and Koji's minibus and on their way to the specialist high school. At first, his two oldest wards and Spinner had been dead set against it. However, as always, logic had won the day. The Todorokis were going to need a lot of support today and tonight, so sticking together in numbers was a good idea. Another good idea, he'd argued, was getting all of them as far away from the Budokan as possible. That way, should Endeavor get wind of anything, they'd be out of reach. Not that Todoroki NG had appeared at any time in Dojo 3 during the contests. The heartless bastard didn't even care to visit his kids, not even when Shouta won his age bracket, because strutting around the main dojo and barking down his phone was more important. Oh, how he hoped to meet him in the ring, and sure, the kids wouldn't be there to watch him, but Namasa, Takeo, Tadeo, and Keigo had promised to live stream the event if it happened, so they wouldn't miss out. Hell, knowing that those children and their mother were already on their way to UA with Sansa, a contingent of police force officers, and the cafe community, made him feel so much better. They'd done it. Regardless of anything else that would happen today, they'd gotten them out of here. They were safe. They had thousands of possibilities stretching out before them now, and that bastard couldn't hurt them. Not anymore. God, the half an hour they had to wait before the adult matches was going to be a blessing in some respects, but a curse in others. He was fed up with waiting. He needed to see that prick in handcuffs with Genji-san and Naomasa leading him to the hulking modified prisoner transport vehicle they had strategically placed just beyond the exit they'd planned to use when they brought the fucker down. Arthur Shouta! Come in, Shouta! Do you read me? Blinking, the eatery owner turned to Takeo. It's good to have you back, Space Cadet Aizawa. Did you enjoy your trip to the outer atmosphere? Oh. He grabbed his chopsticks pointedly, snapping up a delicately seasoned egg roll. Funny. You shouldn't have snapped him out of his trance, my young friend. A civilian-clad Mr. Cowbrass chuckled after a delicate sip of strawberry syrup-spiked lemonade. I do believe I can see him drop-kicking our dear adversary across those lovely eyes of his. Sharing another laugh, their group tried to talk on other things, tried to make light of a situation that still had every possibility of crumbling into shit. But, oh, what? You ain't my serious. How could the Kid Ed special be an illegal move? I've been dreaming of seeing it all day. They had every right to be hopeful, too. Kengo-kun, I'd like to tell you that you're not missing out on it, and that it isn't as legendary as it sounds. However, I truly, genuinely can't. Because why the hell shouldn't they be? Mirai is right, of course. He even had the privilege of seeing it with his quirk before it actually happened. Logically, their setup was foolproof. All of the entrances and exits were covered. His quirk could neutralize the prick at a moment's notice, and the 4 pros sat with him were experts in their fields. Their power was perfectly balanced to ensure they could nab the fucker one way or another. You should have seen him when he was 5'0" 16-year-old kicking ass and taking names. The look on some of his opponents' faces when he took them out was priceless, wasn't it, Tata? Plus, as irrational as it was, oh my gosh! I didn't know you were short at that age, but Spice, please tell me that you have fought us! He had a really good feeling about the outcome of their 2 years' worth of labor. While brother-in-law said, I believe we could be bribed into releasing such materials. Poor sweet Shochan didn't hit 6 feet until just after his 18th birthday, after all. This conversation, however, no. Oh, that's adorable! Name your prize, my good man! Doji, no. Oi, don't either of you dare. I think the blush on his cheeks right now is payment enough, don't you, Take? This was an underbelly. Don't. He floundered, his hands reaching for their phones until the pair of strong arms wrapped about him, holding him close and out of reach, whilst the other pair of lovers and giggles snickered ruthlessly, their own phones recording the spectacle. Ain't saying. Why? Oh, let me see. Oh, traumatized shot. This is my new favorite thing. That's a hero squealed, whilst Marai, that traitor, laughed into his hand, and Keigo, his wings fluffed out in the way they were prone to do it when he was up to something devious, began to rapidly type his own device while Toshinori cuddled him. He was pouting and he knew it, with one arm and avidly scrolled through his phone with the other. You're nothing to be bashful about, sweetheart. Honestly, you're just so adorable and oh my goodness, you got that nuts! Whatever didn't you tell me before? Grumbling to himself, he snuggled into his lover's embrace and focused on dampening the redness across his face with a vaguely disgruntled huff. What a bunch of easily amused saps.